At the KSMO studios, we have our first meeting in the month of June with Mr. Darrell Skiles and a special guest, Ryan Copeland, today. This is on the South Central Regional Stockyard Report. Hello, sir.
Good morning, Stan.
Good
morning.
to have you here.
It's great to be here, man. It's a fantastic morning out there. Wouldn't hurt my feelings any if it's pouring down rain, but of course the folks got some hay down.
Let's work on that for tomorrow and Sunday. We got.
I hear there's a good chance of rain. It's pretty dry all across the area, across
is.
Missouri, large parts. That we're dry here. It's even drier up towards Vienna and Jeff City and on up, and especially in the northeast corner of the state. But at any rate, it's good to be here. The livestock market's good, and we'll get into that. We had a great sale this week again, another great sale of we called it QHG, Quality Health and Genetics, on display of just lot after lot of great cattle and that's always a benefit to the sellers and a benefit to the buyers that are there wanting to buy those top quality cattle, and the prices showed it, and we'll get into some more of those specifics here in a little bit. But
and Darrell, let's remind people if they have questions about the market, they have questions about selling their cattle or other livestock, to please get in touch with you. You represent South Central Regional Stockyards. You can help them and get somebody down, assess the whatever they're wanting to sell, or even assess they want to get cattle for the very first time.
We'll be glad to come to the farm, look at the cattle, and talk about what the marketing options are and some things like that. Yes, please give me a call. That's my job. That's what I do. Number is 573-308-5415, or call the Stockyards, the sale barn, at 573-422-3305. That's the sale barn phone number. Dave Patton and Ross Patton, Bill Patton are the owners at the barn. They come down here to the country, and we visit with folks all the time, and be more than happy to visit with you about your livestock and what you're thinking about doing, or what you might be thinking about doing as far as marketing. But right now, it's just a good time to have some cattle ready to market.
You represented some local people here last time, though.
Yes, we had lots of good local cattle at the barn this week, again, as we always do on these bigger sales. And again, it was just a really good market. I think they called the market reporter, and again, I'll get into some specifics in a little bit. I think he called the market probably $5, $10 to $15, $20, in some cases probably a little higher than that, higher than the week before or 2 weeks before. The week before was a week of Memorial Day. We had a pretty big run of cows and not a lot of feeders to compare with. But 2 weeks ago, we thought prices were good, but they were $15, $20 a hundred. $15 to $20 per hundred higher in a lot of instances across the deal. So fat cattle are a little higher on the market. Futures have been trading higher across for over the last several months. Interesting phenomena there. Wednesday afternoon, seemed like futures for feeder cattle fell out of bed about $4.50 per hundredweight. But that futures thing, sometimes it's a deal where it finally goes up to a point that a bunch of people that are in it that actually don't own cattle, but they're speculating, and they decide to take some profit, and so that thing gets wiggled around back and forth. But overall, the market's good. Feeder cattle market's good, and we've got a great market, great buyer attendance, and great demand. So we're very fortunate, and we do have special guest Ron Copeland here, and I know Ron understands very well, and we really appreciate Ron's support of the agriculture in the state of Missouri. And agriculture, I think we'd have to agree, is probably the number one industry in the state. They like to tout tourism. Tourism is very important. But when you're talking about agriculture, you're talking about cattle, and you're talking about grains, all the grains and things. But when you're talking about agriculture, you're also talking about timber industry, of course. A lot of farms have timber, and that factors into it. So I think agriculture is pretty easy. The largest industry as a whole in the state, a huge part of our economy, and a huge part of the economy here in Dent County and in this part of the area served by South Central Regional Stockyards. So, Ron, it's good to have you, and I know there's a busy legislative session, as it always is. A lot of stuff flying around. Some stuck, some didn't. A little bit stuck, a whole bunch didn't. But there were some good things happened for ag that you were involved with.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happened this session. I mean, like I said, some good, some bad. We're just kind of waiting to see, what truly agreed and passed. The House and Senate went to the governor, and just kind of letting him look over what he feels is necessary and see what he may conclude to send back to us or not send back to us, But
we know Governor Parson is a farmer as well.
Oh yes, he's a farmer. He's got a cattle farm.
Agriculture
he's high on agriculture. That was touted from last session too. He vetoed a bill one of the ag bills, but we come back and veto session or special session and kind of fix that. And that was with his help, and that was a 6-year tax. The 6-year tax credit. We had 2-year tax credits on things, and he just felt that for the ag industry, that 2 years wasn't enough to get establishment, and the 6-year was. I mean, so I agree that yes, he worked with us really good last year, and I think the bills that we sent to him this year are very good. Helped our ag industry and the forestry industry as well.
Did you forget something?
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the main ag bills that we went through this year is the Senate Bill 138, and that was Esslinger, Carla Esslinger, the senator out of down south. She's got Shannon, Wright, down towards Branson, Duncan County, and them counties. But she had a bill that, for our ag bill, that had a lot of the ag stuff that made it through this year. Usually they have one major bill that deals with agriculture, and we can go over some of them issues if you want, and where we
Sure.
go on that.
Yep.
So,
Floor's yours.
so basically, there's several different things on this. There's some waterways and ports trust fund. You know, we don't have a lot of that here around here, but if you look at that on the Missouri and Mississippi River, you know, our waterways has a lot of transportation issues that can bring a lot of funds into Missouri. One of the discussions we had is some of the ports along the Mississippi River over there. We could alleviate some of the stalemate in California if they could have brought it up to Mississippi and got it there on the Mississippi and Missouri. So that's one of the reasons they had this thing. It's a transportation fund. All it is basically the purpose for developing a statewide plan for waterborne commerce. I mean, it's pretty simple. They want to get a fund out there. How can we increase our commerce, our transportation, reduce our transportation costs for farming and for agricultural products, and our waterways? Why don't we use them if they're more economical to use? I mean, that's one of the things in that bill.
There's always been barge traffic on the Missouri and Mississippi. You know that.
Yeah, there's another one here for that I think is going to be good for our farmers. It's basically, some people don't like tax credits or not, but what this is going to establish, income tax deduction for farm owners who sell to family members. I mean, right now, you know, with the price of land and everything going up, you know, we're trying to keep some of these farms in the hands of family members, and it's pretty difficult sometimes with the purchase price. But or participate beginner farmers, such as terms are defined in the Act. And basically it's for a beginning farmer. Portion of the cash rent income received from lease or rental of farmland or beginning farmer not to exceed $25,000 in a tax year. So basically it's just giving them a tax credit to be able to maybe continue to work that farm. And it goes, I want to say, down four
levels
of generation. So, I mean, so it was just one of those things that, and I think they include stepchildren as well. I mean, they're just trying to keep farmland in the family. I mean, that's one way we can look at maybe not taking a big hit, and that gives them the ability maybe to buy that farmland.
It's always a challenge for those families when there's under that situation.
Especially nowadays, you know, when you get with inflation and the price of things, you know, we all see that here locally, and I think some people are benefiting from it, you know, and you know, pricing your homes at a rate that not affordable to locals because of the inflation, where somebody can move in and pay that price where we can't. I mean, we're seeing that pretty much now.
And not only that, the cost of machinery to operate the farm goes hand in hand with that.
I think everything is up, and you know, how do you know, what do you do about that? I mean, so that's just one way I think that was we thought about that could help maybe keep some farmland in the family, you know. There's another one about Missouri Hardwood Products Promotion Fund. That's another fund that was produced. It doesn't mandate that the state give money into that fund. It just gives the ability to have a fund that you can get money into, a fund where we can promote our hardwoods in Missouri. So that's one of the things that, and it has a sunset in it. You know, if we can promote our hardwoods, I want to say, like Darrell said, the ag touts our timber industry constantly, but they don't get some of the benefits that our farmers get when soy or wheat and things like that. So I mean, I think they're starting to see that our forestry end products is a vital necessity in the state.
And let's face it, some of this ground out here isn't really going to produce crop. We know it's not going to produce corn and soybeans, and some of it's pretty thin and isn't even going to produce near as good a crop of even grass. If it isn't really suitable for hay production and some of those things, but it'll grow timber.
Oh yeah,
and high value timber.
Oh yeah,
and that's huge.
It really is. And it has a sunset, so it's not, if it's working, we can continue to do that in 6 years. I'll throw a little bit of information is, you know why most tax credits are 6 years? Do you have any idea?
No idea.
Well, the reason this was established, and I learned this when I was up there, is we have an 8-year term. We're term limited out, so there will always be somebody in the House that voted on this bill. So the freshmen that voted on this bill, it'll sunset when they're seniors, when they're in their fourth term. So it makes sense is, there's always going to be somebody in the House that voted on this
and
when it sunsets.
That knew why it was done.
Yeah, so you don't have to, if it's an 8-year, well, there's nobody there that actually heard that bill or why it was a sunset, why it was important. So
nobody would know the history.
Yeah,
wow.
so that's very interesting. That was something that made sense in Jeff City.
There you go.
I'm not bashing, but it did make sense.
Let us write that down.
You need the gold star on that one.
Yeah. That's why I mentioned that. I'm going to pat us on the back a little bit sometimes, that was just a fund that was established. Hopefully we can promote our hardwoods. Talking about the industry, I think it's a $30 million, probably $30 billion business, employs over 40,000 people directly or indirectly in the state. I mean, it's a big business in the state, the forestry industry,
Gosh, yes.
I had a little fix on the bill. This next addition on this was a fix of mine from the log truck requirements last year. It got brought to my attention when I did that log truck bill for the weights that they could carry. I kind of put a generic number on the overall weight, but we got some loggers and some industries out here that are buying heavy duty equipment, right? I mean, they're spending extra money to make sure they get safe equipment, safe trucks, right. Investing in steer axles that are 22.5 or per axle that are real heavy duty. Some of the log trucks are weighing 40,000 pounds empty, and the other ones that aren't invested in that might weigh 32, right? So these guys that are investing in the heavier, more safer trucks are getting somewhat penalized because of that. So I made a little quick change on the front steer axle. If it's a 20,000 pound steer axle, they can put 20,000 on that. If it's a 15,000 front steer axle, they can't. I mean, so it was just a slight fix because I didn't realize that the guys investing in their equipment, we shouldn't punish them, right? So,
exactly.
And it's not an unsafe thing, Bill.
And that's something you're familiar with from your previous work with the Highway Patrol and working in the
DOT
area,
section, yes.
DOT and the weighing trucks and understanding the problems and the issues.
Right. And sometimes, you see this all the time, people making legislation up there that's never done anything, and you look at and we see what's going on. Somebody behind the desk makes a law or something, thinking, why is that? I mean, so most of the things that and I'm not pimping or bragging or anything, but most of the things that I bring forward up there within my lane of being in law enforcement or in that area of public safety.
But you're not beyond going back to the loggers and saying, hey, is this good for you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's no good a bill if you pass it and everybody says, okay, we don't know anything about that, and then the loggers come along and say, wait a minute, Ryan, we're not really addressing the problem totally.
Yeah. I mean, and like Darrell said, doing that for 10 years, I saw some inconsistencies and some things that weren't necessarily fair, that somebody made these rules and I couldn't understand, but I had to enforce it, and I didn't want to not enforce something. So, this gives me the opportunity to change some things that I didn't think, and working with them moving forward is a good thing. I mean, sitting down with
And
them.
you cannot be up to date on every single thing new coming out in
No.
every one of these areas. There's no way.
One of the biggest things I see about our commercial motor vehicles is the federal guidelines that come down that are not very friendly to commerce in some ways. Now if you want a CDL, you have to take a course, and it costs $750 to $1,500 just to get your CDL now, instead of being able to, work it out and take the test and drive the test. And that, I don't think that was one of the best things the federal government could have done. I mean, but we're caught in the middle of that, because they say if we don't follow their CDL guidelines, you're going to take millions of dollars away from you. So we kind of get caught on that. That's something that that's another story.
Real frustrating, yes.
So another part of the Ag Bill was veterinary student loan repayment program. I mean, that's our vets, it's like doctors, anything else. It's a big animal. Vets are harder to get. You're getting a lot of smaller animal vets, but they've increased the number of participants from 6 to 12. So they're just trying to get that out there to give an ability for, if you're going to vet school, that it gives us some student loan programs, basically what it is.
Try and meet a need that's out there. There's a big demand for these vets.
And I mean, sometimes, in ag, we got to decide, what is important for the taxpayers' money, and I think these are the kind of things that, it's not an exorbitant amount of money. I mean, it's from 6 to 12. There's only 6 other people that it's a loan program that can help them get that fee and move forward.
Right.
It's not millions and billions of dollars, so.
And a lot of these vets that we talk about that deal with livestock, and Darrell, you can comment on this too. It's not like they're sitting in their office waiting for you to bring in a herd of cows. They have to come on site and check things out. So they're constantly on the go, aren't they?
Sure. Yep.
And they may go from county to county to county. And, I know in Melba with her horses, yes, you got to fit it into the vet schedule. And sometimes you have to take your horses there, and sometimes you can't, and they have to come to you.
Yep.
But, as far as the Ag Bill, that's kind of encompasses kind of some of the major things of that bill that got passed for ag. I mean, in our area, the forest products, promotion products, and the new axle weight type allowing loggers to carry on log truck plates. Now, we're not going, not all of them, but just very specific. In our area, them are 2 big things that help the commerce in this area and the economic status. I mean, so.
Overall, it was a pretty good year though for ag.
Yeah, I think it was a very good year.
Increased money available for people to go to ag school is important, and I know you work with State Rep Kent Hayden.
Oh, Kent Hayden,
and I know
yes.
Kent Hayden real well. He's a practicing veterinarian.
Yes, he's a good guy.
Known him for years. Yep. And of course, Senator Brown over on the Senate side, his dad was a veterinarian, and of course, Senator Brown's a great proponent for agriculture over on that side. We got a lot of good ag support throughout the Senate and the House up there, don't we? I know.
I think we have a lot. We got
several
Jason Bean. He's down south, the Boot Hill area, senator from down there, very knowledgeable about that. We got a lot of reps that have farms. I mean, farms, soybean farms all over the state. So we're very blessed in that aspect of having agriculture as a major topic.
How difficult is it to educate the city representatives on agriculture? Because obviously they're not going to be familiar with it. Number 2, they don't know how important it is to smaller counties. Is it something that you struggle with, or is it something that they're open to, or do you really need to bring them down here and show them?
Well, we've done that. I've been in with the conservation where they brought down, and we did a tour with the conservation, how they did their timber sales to show them exactly, which was educational to me as well, even being down here. I think most of the agricultural issues that we deal with in inner city they're not very, they're very forthcoming. They take it in. They understand what the need is. They understand the value of the thing, because that's not one of the main issues that they're against. I don't want to say against or for, but there's certain issues when you bring that up in the city. They have urban air issues that we don't have. They like urban gardens. That was a bill several sessions ago. I think the first session I was up there, they were trying to get urban gardens. You know, to us, what's an urban garden? It's just a garden
Yeah.
to go back out behind our house and do a garden. But all these empty lots, they were wanting to get some funding to provide urban gardens or lots. So, I mean, them are the kind of things, they understand the value of that. Them are the things that I don't think are controversial to them. You know, when you get into social issues, that's when you see all the animosity and the disagreement, and I think that's where you're seeing on the news most of the time. Most of the time, I can sit down with them on public safety issues. Most of them are in agreement with public safety issues. The problem is they can't go back to their district and agree with me about public safety issues because their voters already have their mindset about public safety.
They have a much different perspective.
But they will agree, but they say, sometimes I say, well, I can't vote that way because of my constituents back home. I do agree with you, but they're willing to work with you. And prime example was, we had public safety bills this year, and they were very supportive of them. But I think part of that was because there was a public safety study group early on this year, and had 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans on that committee group. I was one of them, and we went through the issues that each one were having. They have some issues we need to address. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes our rural representatives can't see the need of the cities sometimes too, because they're having issues in St. Louis about minors carrying ARs down the middle of the street, and should they be able to do that? And I don't think they should. There's no oversight on that. But the rule, when you start talking about restricting gun rights from minors in the city, they look at what's going to happen to my 12-year-old that rabbit hunts. So we're not trying to take that away. We're just trying to address their issue in the city. But it gets way out of proportion about the Second Amendment gives you the rights for everything, and I agree it shall not be infringed. But our under 18 can't vote.
Wow.
They can't drive. We're not taking the right away from them. We're just saying, hey, until you get to this age, but that's where we have a little controversy from rural to, You
kind of addressed my next question. It was vice versa. Is it hard for them to convince you guys about stuff in the city?
Well, the urban gardens I thought was crazy, but the more I think about it, I was in St. Louis last week, visiting my son, and you could see there's a garden out in the middle of somewhere, fence. I'm thinking, how does that work? Does it who goes in and does that? Not so so it was something that doing that. But most of the time, it's pretty definite of agreement or disagreement on some of the stuff. But we need to look at what their needs are because they have different needs than we do. They have different perceptions than we do about the police, about public safety, about look in St. Louis about the prosecution up there, right? Wow. How long did that take them to address that and say, hey, you need to leave, and to convince her that
over a year.
Prosecutor?
Look how far they're backed up.
After 4,000 cases and 400 serious cases that weren't being prosecuted, they finally decided, we were talking about this for years, but they just would not see that point because they wanted to back that person for whatever reason, and they didn't look at the totality of it. So that's what's frustrating to us in the rural areas. Think, you need to have accountability for your actions. But
well, I don't think anybody, if you've not been to the court system, say in St. Louis or St. Louis County, you have no idea the backlog that you face.
Well, as a trooper, I worked up there in St. Charles County, and they said you better catch them before they get across the bridge into St. Louis County.
Oh yeah.
If it was a drunk driver, because nothing would happen to them if they got into St. Louis County.
Well,
and that's what they actually told me. I'm not being
3 years.
It's being criminal justice major, your criminal justice system has to be fair, swift, and it has to meet the punishment, right? You can't punish somebody 3 years later for something they did, or it has to be and swift. You can't. Yeah. When you're same as when you're kids, you can't punish your kids 6 months later for doing something.
And the real part of a lot of the problem with the backlog is a lot of civil cases that get thrown in there, and then you have criminal cases that are mixed in too, and they should not be that way. But unfortunately, with the county, especially like St. Louis County, it's all under one municipal umbrella, and there'll be a total of 200 different cases on the docket. One docket for one day. There's 200 cases. you know they're not going to get to them, but a lot of those may have 27 charges. And that's all one case. It's just the 27 charges. Each charge is separate on the docket. And I encountered this myself. I was working in real estate, and we were 38th on the docket, and I got a call. So we're up in 18 minutes. And I go, how the heck did that happen? We're 38th. Well, they solved out of court. The first one had 31 charges. Like, what? You know, so I had to boogie on down to the county courthouse and got there just in time. Didn't even have time to confer the attorney, and it was a civil case. Lasted all of 18 minutes.
But at least, but they're on track. They're on a better track right now to address some of that.
They are definitely.
With the governor's
and I gotta
appointment
catch
to
up.
that,
And I will
they'll
tell you
ought to catch
that
up.
Andrew Braley, talking to our Attorney General now, he said he would be more than willing to do anything his office could do to help solve that problem. You know, so
That'd be good. Back on legislative stuff, though.
Gotcha.
Especially that would maybe help agriculture. Hey, transportation. There was some movement on transportation issues. Obviously, if we're gonna move agriculture products, cattle, livestock, crops, whatever, we've got to have good roads, bridges, so forth and so on. And there was quite a bit of work done on transportation, right?
There was
a big push for major improvements to Interstate 70, which
is that's kind of a. I'm not saying that's a heartache. I'm saying it's a good thing. And $2.3 billion they're wanting for talking about a 3-lane from St. Louis to Kansas City. I mean, I'm not saying it's not needed. There's a big amount of traffic, but after talking to several people, I-44 gets much more commerce traffic than 70. And you know what we got for I-44 is an economics or not an economic study, environmental study of $25 million. They have to do an environmental study before they can start anything. I mean, so that's the next step for our area as far as I-44 is trying to improve that, especially since commerce is one of the major thoroughfares through the state.
Well, Interstate 70, though, is the oldest interstate in the United States, and still some of that original interstate's being used.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest problem, though, Ron, is that they've been trying to cover it and patch it, and for all these years, it just needs to be replaced.
I agree with that, but I don't know. Do we? And I'm not as expert, but a 3-lane all the way across is what they say. I mean, why don't lots of these times, you get 20 miles out of Columbia, do you need a 3-lane? I don't know. I'm not an expert on that.
I will say there's a lot of truck traffic on 70, and you get the hills in between there, and if they're in both lanes, you're stuck. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, but they're speed limits. I'm kidding.
No. Those trucks are not supposed to be unless they pass in that left lane under any circumstances. And and that's supposed to be the rule.
But they are, and they're
but they are, and here's the thing: their intentions are good when they go to pass.
Oh yeah.
But then they start to go up another hill, and now they're even.
But
even
again,
steeper.
improvement to transportation was another priority the governor had.
Yeah.
It was a big priority of the governor. I mean, he
understands
he let
that
it
it's important to
yes.
industry as a whole, not just agriculture, but period. We're right here in the middle of the country, the heartland, and you've got two major interstates, I-44 and I-70. And as you say, they're like the aorta of our whole transportation system across the state.
Absolutely.
You don't have to travel those two interstates very much to realize. I remember as a kid going to St. Louis on I-44 or even back on old 66. But at any rate, the traffic now is nothing. I mean, the traffic then was nothing compared to what you see now. So that, it's just an ongoing thing, and it'll be something the legislature has to deal with pretty much about every year. But then, there's a lot of traffic need or highway needs and things and improvements happening here, even in our local areas. Here in Dent County, we've got MoDOT's going to be putting a new bridge on Highway 19 South, correct?
Yeah, that is a big issue. I'm getting several comments with that. I'll be honest with you. I've talked to Gary, the presiding commissioner, Gary Larson, about that issue. Apparently next summer they're supposed to replace that bridge. The concern is that that they do it. It's going to take about 3 months. They said it's going to be completely closed. There's not going to be a supplemental bridge as of right now. We're working on that because they're going to be sent around. The concern with that, we need the bridge. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. But, you're talking about our ambulance goes all the way to Echo Bluff from here.
Yeah.
So emergency services is going to be a big thing, not having access down there. a quick access, you'd have to go all the way to Jadwin, cut across Gladden Creek if even if it's available,
Right.
or go. How would that work? So that's a big issue that Commissioner or Presiding Commissioner Larson has concerns with, as so do I. And then talking to the presiding commissioner in Shannon County, contacted her, and it's Beth Long. The concern is they're going to close it down. They have 5 months of economic development, basically, or tourism that they have down there, and they're planning on, the way I understand it. Now, I'm trying to find out definitely the months in which they're going to close that. But if they close it within the three of the 5 months that they make their funds or economic development issues down there, that's a concern, because that's how they make their tourism dollars, and we're trying to make sure that they don't close it down. And I've got a traffic count. I've asked for a traffic count, see what comes down through there.
This issue came up back several years ago when they replaced the bridge on Highway 68 over Dry Fork, just west of Merrimack Spring Park. 68 goes over,
Yeah.
and the plan original was then that highway was going to have to be closed for 4 or 5 months while they tore the old bridge out and put a new one in. And finally, after a good bit of discussion and things, a solution was arrived at to keep the old bridge open while the new bridge was built. They acquired a little extra right-of-way and built that bridge, and maybe they may have to put it off a year or so to build it, but they may have to try to devise a different
The last thing I heard was
plan.
that they were still trying to acquire the property. But if you're familiar with that, and I'm not an expert, again, back transportation, but I would have thought they were going to cut that corner out and just go
Exactly.
straight and put a bridge right next to the old bridge. But somebody said, and I've asked for information from MoDOT on this, are they worried about the standing rock? Do they not want to take that down? Is that part of the reasoning of not doing that? And I've asked for the plans.
It could be. There's a lot of historical deal there with
Well, I got
that's called
that.
Standing Rock Bridge.
And
But
I'm pretty sure, talking to Presiding Commissioner Larson, he was supposed to go to a TAC meeting yesterday about this incident, about try to get
that would
this.
be one of the topics, I'm sure.
So, sorry.
Michael Connors.
So, but sorry about that.
Okay.
But that's being looked at. We just definitely don't want it closed for 3 months if we can figure
Yeah.
something else. That's my biggest concern about the emergency issues. And also in the Shannon County, that's a main thoroughfare to Echo Bluff and on down. So we just need to. We're working on that. I'm working with Preston Kramer, MoDOT, Jay Wunderlich, and Jeff City, and would love to have a public hearing on it if they're not, see what the deal is. And
And there's some concern.
we need
U.S.
to
Foods also had some concern as well.
we need
Sure.
to start that process now. We can't start it next May, whenever they're supposed to start building in June or July. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's another thing that
Hopefully it's a problem that can get ironed out. I mean, even for the stockyards, South Central, we get cattle from down in that area, and that would be a major concern.
Well, it's being looked at. I mean, as far as that goes, we need a bridge there. We need to. There's a lot of things we need to push and get for, and they're working on that stuff. So
See, I think a lot of people don't realize there's just not a lot of access once you get to the current river and Jacks Fork rivers. There's just not a lot of bridges that go over there. You got Acres Ferry that's not even operable right now, and that's one of the ways to go in there, and it's been taken out of service. So you've already limited yourself to quite a few. You're going to have to make some major adjustments to drive around. And I think that was the problem U.S. Foods said. It's going to cost them so much more in fuel and the location they're going to have to go. It's going to take them in time. And then the drivers, their schedules will not accommodate that because they'll be out longer than the required time that they can be on the road.
I mean, there's a lot of things we're looking at. Hopefully, we can get that solved to get maybe a temporary bridge or leave it open or see, I don't know. I haven't got the plans. I haven't, talked to Commissioner Larson about what the TAC meeting was about, because that was supposed to be brought up because it's MRPC issue, and I didn't make it to that meeting as well either. I mean, so.
Well, it's been a priority for years for that bridge to be replaced, which is good. So now it's on the deal that's going to be replaced. So now this is just a little a wrinkle in the.
Yeah, it
in
is.
the
It's a
thing,
wrinkle,
but it
and we
can be
just need to
worked
make
out.
sure we're ironed out the best we can. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's.
Well, I know back when we were getting commissioner meetings that Preston Kramer was well aware of that problem. So, and he knew it. I know I think last time we all got together and
Yeah.
talked about
That runs into a problem lots of times on bridge replacements, so it does. But when you're talking about major routes like that 19, like it was on 68, it ended up working out. I'm convinced they can arrive at a better deal than that, than closing that, because that is a major disruption for both Shannon and Dent County, and as you say, emergency services and so on. So anyway, overall a good legislative session though for rural Missouri, I think. Wouldn't you agree, Ron?
I think it was good
Agriculture.
for rural. I mean, there's always things that can be done. I mean, but
Always
you know,
will be.
one step at a time, and just like I tell people, I mean, if you need to let us know or the commissioners know, and let representatives and senators know the issues. I mean, if we don't know the issues, it's hard to figure out what we can do in Jeff City to help, and go forward.
Very good.
And again, we're very fortunate in our region. We've got some excellent reps and senators representing the region right here, Dent County, and the area that South Central Stockyards serves that are very supportive of ag issues, of course, and ag roots run pretty deep with folks in this whole area. So,
Yes, they do.
So we do appreciate it, and we're very fortunate to have legislators that feel that way, and a governor and a lieutenant governor who's both of them. Their agriculture roots run very deep. Lieutenant Governor Kehoe's, of course, got a farm just over on the western part of Phelps County and Pulaski County, and runs a lot of cattle, and he understands ag issues very well. So we're very fortunate right now at this period in time to have the support for agriculture, and the Stockyards does appreciate it. I can tell you that.
And that's gonna be a every vote counts in the future about what you believe and what you want, and get out and figure out who supports ag,
Right.
and make sure you support them people.
But anyway, we'll talk a little bit about the market.
Let's talk about the market.
All right.
Ron,
Well, thank you.
very
I'll
much.
sit here and listen
Sure.
about the market.
Okay.
I just want to highlight a few things. First of all, again, we did have an excellent sale again this week. Had somewhere in the neighborhood of between 24 and 2,500 head of cattle. Couple of hundred cows, about 2,200 and some feeder cattle. Excellent quality feeders cattle throughout the sale. And Dave Patton, one of the owners at the barn, had mentioned, he was calling it the QHG sale, and QHG stands for Quality, Health, and Genetics. And when you looked at the cattle that were there, and really it was excellent quality, excellent health programs on these cattle with good vaccination programs, and the genetics, top quality genetics from some of the top purebred breeders around the state that people are buying their bulls from, and it showed up. And the feeder market again this week was, as I said earlier, 15 to 20. Maybe there might have been instances $25 a hundred higher.
Wow.
And but lots of just super good cattle. Many of them would have fallen under what we call a value added, which means that they've been got a full health program with vaccinations. And in the vaccinations, one of the things that's come up very important is that they've had 2 rounds. They've had the basic respiratory vaccinations along with blackleg and so forth, but also boosted. And one of those boosters, then that booster needs to be a modified live. This has become more and more important to the buyers of these cattle that are traveling, and most of these cattle, when we talk about transportation, the bulk of those cattle are going to leave South Central, and they're going to get on a truck, and most of them are going to hit 63, and they're going to go either north towards Iowa or Nebraska or Kansas, or some of them will head south and go down and hit I-44 headed to points west. But these cattle, many of our highest dollar cattle will end up going to Iowa, many to Nebraska, and of course, and then to Kansas as well. Earlier this year, would have had a lot of cattle going to the blue stem pastures in the Flint Hills of Kansas, and in the fall of the year, we'll have thousands and thousands will get on the trucks, and they'll head out to western Kansas to the wheat pastures and so on. So we're an exporter of feeder cattle in Missouri, but the buyers love the quality of cattle that we've got. We've had, and I just, I'm not going to go too much into specifics on the price, but as I said, they were much higher. We had, just as a for instance, you're looking at some 7-weight cattle, selling in a range 220 to 250, 260 a pound. I know some 700-pound steers, a small lot, 11 head, bringing that had not been weaned. They were pulled right off their mamas, but they did have 2 rounds of shots, one of them being modified live, had top genetics in them calves, and them calves right off these were fall-born calves from last year, and those calves brought over $1,770 a head right off their mamas. But without the health program and the genetic information, the quality health and genetics, and without the health program, some of those buyers would not even have been bidding on those cattle. But those cattle were purchased $1,770 a head, and they got on trucks and they were headed to Nebraska last I seen them. So it's a very good sale, and there's and again, in this value added thing, you're looking at, you can easily add from $10, $15, $20, $30 a hundred to the value of your cattle, just getting the health program and doing some weaning if you're in a position to do that. Bulls, one of the biggest things anybody could do is sharpen the knife and get them old bull calves cut, because you can add $30, $40 a hundred to the price of some calves just by getting the bull calves castrated and healed up. You don't want to castrate them the day before the sale and drag them in. That's not going to work very well. But at any rate, the heifer market again was very strong. A lot of super quality heifers, again, and you're talking in that 220, 230, 240, 250, 260. We had some cattle weighing up there in the upper fours and things, and fives bringing well over $3 a pound. And so the market is extremely good. We're looking for another very good sale this week. I want to mention too, a person can go on DB auction and view the auction live. You can also bid. We sold I think better than 300 head of cattle. We had a couple of buyers, 2 or 3 or 4 buyers online watching the sale by video and buying cattle online, and we sold, I think, probably over 300 head of cattle that were bought by a buyer that wasn't even there, but was through technology. It's great. He was able to go online, watch the sale, and load up on some cattle. And I think they went to, this buyer was buying. Typically those order buyers aren't buying those cattle for themselves. They're buying those on an order, and they're buying them for somebody else. They're representing those people in Kansas and Nebraska and Oklahoma, Oklahoma, Iowa, so on. So, but these cattle, over 300 head, I think it was, went out of state to buyers, and they were bought online. But I want to mention one thing. This deal right here shows there's a deal of trust. The sale barn is going to do everything it can to take care of the sellers. We do everything we can. We value. They're the ones that pay the commission.
Right.
But those people buying online have got to have a great deal of trust in the sale barn and the sale barn staff, that as they're watching that, they're not able to see what they can be in their live. So they have to have a huge amount of trust in the sale barn staff, that when we're running in a group of calves, there's not one being slipped in there that if he was there live, he would see and have that calf pulled off. We're not going to slip in a calf that's, a bad foot or leg or any issues. And those buyers have a great deal of confidence and trust in the staff at South Central Stockyards that what they're buying is the real deal. And because if they get on the truck and go where they're going, and the end point buyer of those animals aren't happy, there's a problem with that order buyer, he'll feel it. He'll get nailed for that. And so, this thing's working well. We've got people feel a great deal of trust. They can buy from us online and feel, that it works both ways, that trust between buyer and seller and so forth. So
reputation's huge.
That's right.
When it comes to agriculture, reputation's huge.
That's right, and especially in a deal like this, your reputation is huge, and that works. But those buyers buying online, these are buyers who will pay the top prices of anybody in the country, and if they can feel good that what they're buying is what they're seeing is what they expect, then they're willing to sit in and do that. And when they can do that, you're opening up a whole new realm of people that's becoming more and more common for them to do that. And basically, they buy them, arrange payment, and send the trucks, and the trucks start rolling in the afternoon, and parking lots full of pots waiting to load cattle to send up that improved Highway 70 or 544 or wherever they got to go to get them. So anyway, it's a great sale. We're looking at another great sale coming up this week. The cow market, by the way, the weigh cow market was exceptional again. Was up to $2, $4, $6 a hundred, perhaps higher than what it has been, which is fortunate because there's a lot of people, because of the dry weather. We're having kind of some unusual heavy numbers of cows show up, and a lot of these are cows that people are looking at they're just looking at kind of doing some cutting back and try to make plans to try to get through this real dry stage that we seem to be in. So we're fortunate. The weigh cow market, many of these cows will be in the 90s up to $1. Some of the high dressing cows up over $1, $1.05, $6, $7, or maybe more. Your lower dressing cows even will be up in the 80s. So you're talking about a lower dressing cow that weighs 900, 8 or 1,000 pounds will still bring $800-900. Some of them high dressing cows will bring $1,200, $1,300, $1,500 a head just to go to slaughter. Your high dressing, your big old bulls will bring $1, $10, $15, $16, $20. It's a great time for somebody that's got an old bull, big old bull that maybe not producing the best calves in the world. Get him sold and buy some of this better genetics. By the way, Ron Copeland, I think, is leaving. I want to thank Ron for stepping in here today and sharing with us some of the successes in the legislature this past year. So anyway, with the livestock market, South Central Regional Stockyards, as we said earlier, if you're thinking about selling, give me a call. I'm Darrell Skiles. My cell number 573-308. 5415. Be happy to visit with you about what your plans are, what you're thinking about doing. We just want our producers to make the most money they can on their cattle, and we'll help you with the marketing plan.
That's what we talked last time, though, Darrell, too, about people might just be getting into livestock, and they really may not know all the steps they really need to take to get the quality herd that you're talking about.
Right. That's right. Yes, please give a call or come up to the barn or call Dave Patton or Ross or Bill Patton. Visit with them about what they see. And because in the end, if you're going to get in the business, that's great. And we be more than happy to help you get some top quality cows or heifers on your farm. And somewhere along the line, then you're going to want to sell them. So you might as well get started with the right kind. I always tell people it really don't cost hardly any more to keep a good one than it does to keep a poor one.
Right.
So
that's true.
You might as well raise a good one and let them poor ones go to town for slaughter. And,
we've had some great extension specialists that have helped people in the past too. And Eric Mush is here in town if you have some questions. But you need to, want to make sure that you get hay tested and things of that nature. If you're going to be going into business,
soil
if you're
test.
maybe moving in from California or you're listening or you're moving in from another state and you're not familiar with Missouri and how this all works, feel free to call Darrell and get in touch with him. He can give you the information, tell you the right people to get in touch with. That's what it's all about, is doing the contacts and to get a good feel for this, isn't it?
That's right. Yes, that's right. And, just like this past sale, lots of top quality replacement female were in the offering there, those heifers from different top producers across the region. So, if a person's thinking about getting in, cattle are higher right now. But, the numbers-wise, cattle are going to be a pretty good price, I think, here for the next few years. So, and as you say, we've got people moving in that are buying properties and different things. And if they're interested in getting into business, give a call. And or if you've got some cattle you're thinking about selling or doing, just be aware that this market's awful good, and give a call. We'll help you get them moved. We'll help get trucking arranged. We'll come down and visit with you. We'll get trucking arranged, and I'm there every sale day back in the barn trying to look after everybody's consignments and get her done.
All right. Your number again, Darrell?
573-308-5415. The number at the sale barn is 573-422-3305, and ask, most likely Laura Patton will answer the phone. She is the lady who is in charge at the office, and I mean, she does a fantastic job, keeps us all straightened out, and her husband is Bill. He's one of the owners, along with his brother Ross, and their dad Dave Patton. And Dave Patton's been in the livestock business, I don't know, since he stopped crawling and started walking. Probably he was in the livestock business. So good folks.
Yeah. See you around. Anyway, we want to thank South Central Regional Stockyards. They are paying for this program, by the way.
Yes, sir.
And we want to thank Darrell for coming in and getting you up to date on what's going on. It's a huge part of Dent County. It's part of our agriculture right here.
County's economy.
I remember coming here. Man, I've been here a few years. Anyway, nonetheless, I know when I first came, we had a number of dairies that were still operational. I had some pretty nice sized hog farms at that time.
Yes.
As well as cattle farms, and don't see the dairies anymore, and don't see as many hog farms I used to anymore, but I still see an awful lot of cattle out there.
Oh, yes.
And it can be a very frustrating business, but any business can. But it can be a very lucrative business too, if you do it right.
But it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
You better put a lot of thought into it and do it right. But it is. It's good. It's good work, and we have some excellent cattle come from this area.
And another thing, and I want to just bring this out because I know agriculture is one of those type of businesses that you learn a lot from your fellow producer. When you go to the market, you can talk to different people about what they do and how they're doing it and what they see. Because that input, that feedback, Darrell, just kind of, and any time you go to a location like that, you're going to learn something new from somebody, aren't you?
We got our local Dent Phelps County Cattlemen's Association has periodically has meetings every couple of months. It's a great place to you need to join. Call the extension office at 729-3196 and get on that mailing list and get your dues paid. It is an affiliate of Missouri Cattlemen's Association, which is a great organization. It does a great job representing cattlemen in Jeff City and across the state in different meetings. But yeah, just get involved in your local associations and visit with people in the business and yep. It's not hard to get a lot of help and a lot of input in. A lot of folks will be more than happy to help.
And help to maximize those profits.
Yes, sir.
That's what it's all about.
And that's what it's all about in the end.
Very good,
So,
sir. We want to thank Darrell for coming in, spending some time with us. We do it every second and fourth Friday of the month.
Yep, we'll have another special sale coming up this Wednesday, and then we're just kind of playing it by ear. We'll see how it works. And some people, because of the dry weather, may be marketing a little bit forward from what they usually would, and so we'll see how the specials go. But this cattle market's going to be good as we go through this summer. Hopefully these rains will straighten out a little bit, and folks will get enough hay put up to feel okay going in. But anyway, another special feeder sale coming up this week, and we'll play it by ear. But we have a sale every Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m. for feeder cattle. We get a lot of cattle on feeder cattle will come in. Mondays and Tuesdays, we can take good care of them, good feed and water pens. And sale starts Wednesday at 10 a.m. up at Vienna, Missouri, South Central Regional Stockyards on Highway 42 West, just on the edge of Vienna.
Can't miss it. You really can't. Once you make that turn, you'll see
you're going
it
up 63
left.
toward Jeff City, turn on 42, and
it's
just about three-fourths of a mile on your left.
Yeah.
Can't miss it.
Look up the hill. You'll see.
Yes, sir.
Big old spread. I'm telling you that.
One of the premier livestock markets in this part of the state.
Absolutely.
Sure is.
And we do appreciate them for picking up the cost of this program, and I want to thank Darrell for coming in and enlightening us with some information, and for having special guests like Ron Copeland today, who will give you an insight a little bit about how important it is for our legislature and how they approach agriculture, and how important it is in our state, not only as a viable business and big money maker for our economy, but also how important it is for the legislators to understand that, and how they work to make sure that continues.
Yep, that's right. Yep, we are very fortunate and blessed to have good legislators in Jeff City that really do understand and appreciate agriculture. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks. What will it be, Stan? About the 23rd of June? And we'll be back here and update once again what's going on at the livestock market at South Central Regional Stockyards. And until then, I do hope everyone will be safe and happy, healthy, and God bless each and every one of you.